Okay, we're going to do some problems today. I looked at your work from last week. Seems like most of you actually did fairly well with the conversions part. It seemed like most of you had trouble with the acre-feet thing. The acre-feet problems, we're going to do quite a few of them because it's a handy unit for dealing with water over big areas. One thing that I think most people forgot or didn't think about using when they did those problems last week is I want you to remember, in addition to the conversions that I gave you, you also have to remember some things that I'm sure you all know. And when we're talking about rectangular shapes, and in 3 dimensions, we call these rectangular prisms, rectangular boxes. That's a shape we're going to use a lot in here. Volume equals the length times the width times the depth. Okay, so if you have I'll try to draw it here. Those of you who've had me know I can't draw, but I'm going to try. So let's say we have something like that. Length times depth times width equals volume. What do we measure length in? Meters, feet, some sort of linear measurement, right? What do we measure width in? Same thing, right? What do we measure depth in? Same thing. So we're going to end up with some sort of length cubed as a unit. Cubic feet, cubic meters, cubic centimeters, whatever. For water, it'll always be one of those. Sometimes you'll see water measured in gallons, which is a unit as well. We're not going to use that very much in here, but you may run across it. But most of the time it'll be cubic feet, cubic meters, cubic centimeters. Remember also that volume also equals area times depth. Remember, length and width equals your area. What kind of units do we get for unit or for area? Length squared. Depth, be a length. Multiply them all together and you get length cubed. So now let's go to this pain in the butt unit that I introduced you to last week. The acre foot. It's acre times feet, but it's most times it's just written as acre foot. What is an acre foot a measure of? What's an acre? What unit is an acre? It's a unit of what? It's area. Feet is a linear measurement, right? In this case, you can think of it as being a depth. An acre foot, 1 acre foot is 1 acre with a foot of water sitting on it. Water a foot deep sitting on an acre. That is 1 acre foot. 1 acre with 1 foot of water on top of it. So that's acre times depth. That is a volume. Okay? All right, I have a conversion practice sheet I will give you today. It's also on the website. After tonight, you can play with it this week and see what you get for answers. I'll include an answer key as well. But I'm going to give you one of the problems now and we'll just sort of work through it. Sound good? All right. So, Let me just write this question out. If 640 acre-feet of water is spread out over half a square mile, how deep will the water be? Now, as it turns out, there are about a dozen ways to do this, okay? Some are easier than others, but they're all doable. So any way that correctly gets you to the right answer is fine with me. But there's one way that's going to be easiest. I'll show you a slightly more difficult way that actually makes a lot of sense, and then I'll show you a really easy way. So play around with it. See if you can figure this out. I'll give you 5-10 minutes to do this. And just to give you a hint, make sure you kind of start with something we talked about, that volume is equal to area times depth. If you start with that, you have a really good chance of getting this answer right. Look at what I gave you and look at where you're going. Rearrange this equation so that you can get to the answer that I'm looking for. Do it, let's see, how deep will the water be? Let's do it in inches. I can't, right? Yeah, in inches. So one of you has the correct answer already. Looks like it took you all of about 20 seconds. Okay, who has answers? What'd you get?
24 inches.
24 inches? Anybody get anything else? How many of you didn't quite get there? Okay, a few did it just fine, few had difficulties. Okay, this is the equation that we're going to start with for a lot of these, okay? What is it you want to know in this equation? What am I asking you for? Depth. This is what we want to figure out, right? What did I give you? I gave you volume. What volume did I give you? This is your volume, right? 640 acre feet. That's a volume. What else did I give you? I gave you area, which is half mile squared. So I gave you volume and area, and we want to solve for depth. So we can rearrange this equation, right? Depth equals volume over area. What do we have for our volume? 640 acre feet. What's our area? Half mile squared. Okay. Now again, there's a couple ways you can go forward from here. We are eventually looking for a unit in inches, right? But if you look at the units that we currently have up, we don't see any inches there, right? The closest thing is foot. So we're going to be looking to get this maybe to foot first, and then we can get her down to inches from there. Okay? So now that we've done the correct math to get the problem solved, now it's just a matter of getting it in the right units. This is the answer. This right here is the answer. Okay? But I want it in inches rather than acre feet divided by mile squared, because that makes no sense to me at all. I don't know what that is. But I know what inches are. So let's get it to inches. So what conversion can I use to start breaking this down? Okay, so we have a conversion where 640 acres equals a mile squared, right? We want to get rid of acres, correct? So we're going to put acres in the bottom. So we're going to have 640 acres over here on the bottom. 1 mile squared on top. So let's see what we can get rid of. We get rid of 640 acres, right? This leaves us with what? We still have this unit, right? We now have this unit. And we have this unit. So, looks like we have 1 over 1/2. We have feet, mile squared. We have miles squared on the bottom. Those cancel out. What are we left with? 1 divided by 1/2 equals 2. What are we left with unit-wise? Feet. We have 2 feet. I want it in inches. We know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. 2 times 12 equals 24 inches. Pretty simple, actually, just a couple of conversions. Another way you could do it, and it takes a couple of extra steps, would be to change everything into feet, square feet, cubic feet. You can take acre feet and turn it into cubic feet pretty simply. In the key that I will put on the website, I'll show you how to go through that. That way is perfectly appropriate, but there's about 5 more steps. Every step you add to this unnecessarily is one more opportunity to do a silly math mistake. So I always urge you to take the most direct route you can to the end of these. So in this case, this is the unit that you're going to convert with a lot. 1 mile squared over 640 acres. Just know that. We're going to use that a lot in here. Okay? A square mile is 640 acres. Okay. What I have for you now is your quiz. All right, I'm going to hand it out. You guys just do it. Like I said, as soon as you pass one of these with a 90%, you're done with the quizzes. You don't have to take any more. You still can if you want. If you just want practice every week, you can just take it for fun. But once you get your 90%, then you get all of your points for this part of the homework, okay? And if you get 80% this week, good job, but you have to do it again next week. And you only get credit if I can follow your work, okay? I just don't want to see an answer down there. And if you're, going to do one of these quizzes online at home, what I want you to do is write it out, take a picture of it, send it to me, but I have to be able to follow it. And if you get online and cheat and look up the answer and your work doesn't get there, I'm going to fail you, because I do not want that in here. I want you to give it a try. I'm not interested in just the right answers all the time. I want you to go through a process where you're never going to get this wrong, okay? You guys are used to taking tests in here, and well, if I can get in the 70s, I get a C. And if I can get in the 80s, I get a B. And if I can get a 90, I give an A. But in a year or two, you're not going to be in class. You're going to be out working, hopefully, for somebody somewhere. And they don't care if you're getting it right 70% of the time. They want it right all the time. So you better learn how to come up with a system where you can be consistently good all the time with it. And that's what I want for you, okay? And that's why you're going to do it in here. And we're going to do it till you get comfortable with it. Some of you are already really comfortable with it. Some of you are really not comfortable with it. But by the end of the semester, you are going to be. So I will hand out this quiz now. Do it. I'll correct it. I'm going to wait till all the online people are done with their quizzes. They have till Thursday night to get them back to me. And then I'll send you all the answer key, and you can kind of take a look at your work, okay? So I want you to always be able to learn from what you do in here. All right, so let's do the quiz.